In this video, I'm going to show you some of the tips and tricks that I've learned about making effective bar chords to help you feel more confident with your playing. So the first thing we're going to talk about is finger creases. When you're making a bar chord, you want to avoid putting your finger crease right on top of the string, because you see that it's dented in a little tiny bit. Well, then you're going to feel like you have to push a little bit harder. You're not going to have an effective placing of your finger to push that string down onto the fret. So when I make my bar chord, I make sure that my finger crease is not on the string. It can be close to it, but not right on top of it. The next thing to take a look at is the position of your hand when you make the bar chord. I'm going to drop my arm down and just bring it up to my 5th fret. Do you see how my finger, my barring finger, is on an angle? You need to make sure that that finger, when you're making your bar chord, that finger is parallel to the fret. So I've started this with my index finger right next to my fret. It looks like it's almost on top of it, but it's not. It's right behind it, helping to make sure that string is pressed firmly down on the fret. My thumb is opposite my index finger. It's not always going to be precise. My thumb might be back a little bit sometimes, not usually forward, but sometimes back. But try to keep it around that index finger so it works as a counterweight, as a bit of a clamp, you know? When I say clamp though, I don't mean that you have to push really hard there. You just want to keep that pressure on. All right, so I roll my finger fat right next to the fret. When I slide that finger into position on this side, that's when I apply pressure. I don't need a ton of pressure, but I do need it to be fairly consistent. So I've already got my finger creases out of the way. I've got my finger parallel to the fretboard now. The other thing to think about is this arm. Okay. Notice when I'm playing that my elbow is tucked into my body. It doesn't have to be squeezed right in there, but if the elbow is tucked in, that's going to allow this arm to be in a more effective position to play those bar chords. If you're out like that, see how it drags my finger back? And it becomes harder. You have to push harder. And then you feel this tension slowly go up your arm. You don't need that. Keep your arm in a position that's comfortable for your body, and you'll enjoy playing these bar chords more. The next thing we're going to talk about is the position of your finger, depending on where you are on the fretboard. Here, around the 5th to 7th fret, around the middle of the fretboard, my finger is pretty well coming directly towards my body. Now, when I make a bar chord back here, it's not, right? The position of my hand has changed. So if I was to squeeze my finger really hard and show you where those finger creases are now, you'll see they're not flat on here. They're off to the side ever so slightly. That's because my finger is ever so slightly angled that way. Just a tiny, tiny bit. Not a huge amount, not right on its side. Just a little bit, just on a tiny angle to help make sure that my arm is as comfortable as possible in this position while allowing my hand to work effectively. Okay, now let's go up high. The higher you get, the more that you'll find, I mean, your arm's going to be going that way now, right? Your hand's going to be angled different. So the more that you go up higher, the more you'll find that your finger may wind up applying pressure on the side closest to the sound hole, just ever so slightly again. And I'll push my finger down, see if I can get some lines on it to show you. See how they're angled a little bit more that way? It's not a lot, but be aware of it. So when you see a picture of someone doing a bar chord, often you see their finger flat all the time, right? Like it looks like your finger should be flat there and flat there. Well, in order to do that, you'd have to really contort your body. It's not comfortable. Work with your body. The final thing we need to consider when we're making a bar chord is our picking arm. It can help to release tension on this arm if you make sure that you've got a comfortable hold on your ukulele. I'm showing that it's not really a tight grip. I'm not squeezing it into my body, but I've anchored my arm there comfortably. Now I realize I'm sitting with the ukulele on my left leg. If I change positions, I would still have the instrument snuggled in nice and close. Like I would make sure that this is working as a bit of a counterweight. Now let's see. We've got our finger creases out of the way. The angle of our hand is lined up. This is the first exercise I would do. Just lay your finger right across all four of those strings if you're comfortable, and just practice this. Now I've got these fingers out of the way to show you what I'm doing. Normally I would have them in more like this. Now these are tips that work for me with my hands. I'm showing them to you because I hope that they will help you. They may not all help you, but they may start you on being more comfortable with playing your bar chords.